We have with us Ross Gerber, President and CEO of Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Ross, what do you make of, just to start with the crypto space, it's not necessarily a focus for everyone, but on a day like today or a week like this week, it seems to be rattling people beyond the crypto world.
Yeah, I mean, this is a disaster for the crypto industry. You know, we've been involved with crypto for me personally for some time, you know, and then as a firm, we are partnered with Gemini. It is a small part of our business, but one that we're working very hard to grow. And, you know, we're very big believers in the integrity of the system and building a system that people trust, because that's how financial systems works. And what's happened with FTX is exactly what creates huge problems for financial systems. And it's looking very, very similar to the Bernie Madoff situation in '08 when the markets went down, and all of a sudden it turned out that Madoff's whole operation was a house of cards, just like FTX. So unfortunately, this begs to argue that these cryptocurrency exchanges need to be regulated by the SEC, and clearly these players are not responsible enough to be in charge of our money. Do
you think that some changes like that will happen before it's too late for some of these companies?
Yeah, I mean, it's too late. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to the thousands and thousands of investors of FTX, and it's a mess, and there's no regulatory organization that deals with it.
We're also talking about Meta today. I wonder what your thoughts are on what's going on there. We saw the shares higher on the back of the news of job cuts, but it's been tough times at Meta recently.
Yeah, I mean, Meta's a perfect example of a company where you have a shareholder structure where one person controls the entire company, and there's no way to challenge that person's vision or direction. You know, I'm not a big fan of Zuckerberg or Facebook, and when they pivoted to the metaverse, I found that to be a highly risky strategy for a company that isn't really good at the metaverse. So, you know, they've proven that they aren't good at the metaverse, and now they're stuck with a strategy with no future. So I'm not really sure where Meta or Facebook goes from here, but I certainly think the world wouldn't be worse off without them.
Another social media company that's gotten a lot of attention recently has been Twitter. I know it's not publicly traded anymore, but I'm curious just what your thoughts are on Elon Musk and what he's doing there. Today, he began to roll out gray check marks and then reversed that very soon afterwards. It seems a little bit trial and error of what he's doing, but on a pretty big stage.
Yeah, you know, just in disclosure, I am one of the investors in Twitter, in the private company, and I have been involved with this. And, you know, Elon needs a lot of help, and I've offered to help, and I'm still here to help. But this is, I think, well out of his range of typical types of business challenges that he normally face, which are much more engineering related instead of the nuances of media and entertainment. So I think that there's a very steep learning curve here, and he's unfortunately learning the hard way.
A bigger picture for Twitter is, do you see the sort of longer term goal here being getting Twitter, I don't know, its books in order a bit better? Musk said it's, you know, losing a ton of money every day. Is that the first goal, with the longer term goal being that it ends up being a publicly traded company down the road again?
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent is that Twitter would eventually become a publicly traded company in the future.
Okay, so, well, one we will continue to watch for sure, Ross. The other big story this week has been the midterms. Any sort of you know, fallout from what we know so far that you're watching for?
Well, you know, once again, these are my opinions, and some of the races aren't, you know, really finished 100% yet. So, you know, basically the markets sold off heavily because many people thought that the Republicans would just really sweep the Senate and the House without any problem. And that's not what's happened at all. And it turns out Americans are much more concerned about greater issues like protecting our democracy and like female reproductive rights, for example, and abortion rights. People care, I think, a lot more than the Republicans had anticipated. And so what we're seeing actually is that the Democrats might hold the Senate and the Republicans might have a slight majority in the House, which is, much less of a position than they expected. And so I think this is a really great thing, because I think it's time for the Republicans to get out of the Donald Trump business and understand that their future in the party is not with extremism, and it's really moving more towards the center instead of more towards the right. And I think that's what's America's saying, is that most Americans are in the middle, and the more extreme you get, the less chances you're going to win an election. And so I see this as a positive.
Okay. So I also wanted to just get to a couple of your picks in terms of companies where you're seeing opportunity right now. We were just talking about Elon Musk, but Tesla is one of those companies that you're watching.
Yeah, Tesla is the best opportunity. I've seen it since 2019. The same thing happened in 2019, where sentiment towards Elon turned extremely negative, and it really did not have any real relevance to the fundamentals of the business, which is doing phenomenally well in a very high gas environment. But remember, as we go into next year, we have what I call the Tesla Enrichment Act, or the IRA Act, coming into play, which really helps EV and solar makers like Tesla, not to mention launching new products, new factories opening. So the market is now completely divorced from the reality behind Tesla, and it's creating a huge opportunity for investors.
Okay, and Ross, you're also looking at MGM Resorts. So is that because people are getting back out into the world?
Yeah, the world's getting back to normal, and next year will probably be the first year since the pandemic started that I think most of the world will function normally again. And people are traveling and experiencing life a lot more than they want to buy goods like during the pandemic. And so travel has held up incredibly strong, even with a slowing economy. And as we go into next year, conventions and businesses are back to going to Vegas. And this is a huge plus, because that really fills the rooms during the middle of the week. And then we've got entertainment and sports just booming in Vegas, including Formula One, which is coming to Las Vegas next year, which looks amazing. So with all these things coming to play, and then online gambling becoming profitable at some point next year for MGM, they really have the best of both worlds, of their physical business doing well, but then ultimately their digital business is super exciting moving into the next year or two.